All right, today we're diving into a pretty fierce dispute. It's one that pits a creator's legal rights squarely against a community's unwritten rules. And believe it or not, this whole thing kicked off with just a simple request, but it ended with someone's career hanging in the balance. So let me ask you this. What if exercising your own copyright could actually ruin your career? I mean, really think about that. You create something amazing, you even win an award for it, and then, just by asking to control where your own work is shown, you suddenly risk losing everything. Well, for one developer, this wasn't just some thought experiment. It was their reality, and man, did it spark a firestorm.
Okay, so let's set the scene. At the heart of this whole thing is a game developer, goes by the name All Alone Games. They took part in a really popular Game Boy homebrew competition. Afterwards, they made a request, one they felt was totally within their rights as the creator. But, yeah, that simple request ended up having some absolutely massive consequences.
So, here's the timeline of how this all went down. Back in 2023, the developer does really well, even wins a podium spot and some prize money. Fast forward to 2025, they're back in the competition. Then, after it's all over, they ask a third-party website, a site that archives all the entries, to please take their games down. The response? It was swift and it was severe. We're talking retroactive disqualification from both competitions and a demand to return the prize money they'd won.
Now, from the developer's point of view, this was just a no-brainer. As they put it, this wasn't some hostile move. They were simply exercising their legal and moral rights over their own creations. It's a fundamental right for anyone who makes anything, right? They were pretty sure they were following not just copyright law, but the website's own policies, too.
So to really get where they're coming from, we have to look at the rulebook. The developer's whole argument, the entire thing, hinges on what was actually written down, the explicit terms everyone agreed to when they signed up.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because it's not about what the rules said. It's about what they didn't say. The developer points out, hey, the rules said submissions had to be freely available during the competition. Cool. After that, you were even free to sell your game, but there was absolutely nothing, not a single word, about having to keep your games online indefinitely on some third-party site. So this huge penalty they were facing, it just didn't seem to be based on anything in the actual written agreement.
And that quote just nails the core of their frustration. The developer felt like they were being punished for breaking a rule that literally did not exist when they entered. A rule, as they argue, that was just invented out of thin air retroactively to justify coming down on them so hard.
But, of course, every story has two sides. So now let's flip it and look at the other perspective. This one isn't based on a legal contract, but on something a lot more fluid, the unwritten social contract of the community.
Yeah, this idea of a social contract is really the key here. It's this unspoken agreement, the belief that when you join a community event, you're also agreeing to its norms and traditions, even if they're not spelled out in some rule book. It's all about the spirit of the community, not just the black and white text. And this quote from a prominent community member named Azzy really gets to the emotional core of that argument. The feeling was that the developer took all the benefits from the community, the platform, the exposure, the prize money, and then just turned their back on everyone. It was seen as benefiting from the group effort and then pulling the rug out from under them.
And to back this view up, people pointed to precedents, right? Other similar events. You've got the NES Dev competition, where entries have to be included in a free collection. The N64 Brew Jam mirrors everything on their GitHub. The argument is, look, this is just how it's done in the scene. It's the community norm, it's what everyone expects.
So really, it all just boils down to this massive disagreement. On one side, you have the developer's view, the written rules are all that matter, period. And on the other side, you have the community's view, hey, the unwritten social contract and the precedents matter just as much. It's two totally different philosophies just crashing right into each other. And when those two worldviews collided, it wasn't some polite little debate over coffee. No, it was more like an explosion. The fallout was huge, and it had some very, very real consequences for the developer at the center of it all. Just how severe was it? Well, they were retroactively disqualified from both competitions. All traces of them were basically erased from the event's history. They were even asked to return their 2023 prize money. And maybe the most damaging part? Their entire career could be in jeopardy, because the organizers have connections in the industry. But the thing is, the community was not united on this. Far from it.
This quote right here is from a former organizer of the same competition. They called the whole situation shameful and harmful to devs. I mean, that suggests a huge crack, a deep division even within the leadership itself.
And it wasn't just former organizers. Other developers started speaking up, rallying to the creators' defense. This quote from a fellow developer, Tyler Lombard, really hits on that feeling of overreach, that the organizers were showing this unacceptable entitlement over someone else's creative work.
And this next comment kind of broadens the whole debate. It's not just about rules, it's about respecting the labor of creators. The point is, non-developers shouldn't have this kind of demand on someone's free labor. If you want to play a game, maybe you should pay for it, especially if the creator wants to sell it down the line.
So wow, this whole mess is really a powerful cautionary tale for any creator out there. So what can we all learn from this? How can you protect yourself? Let's break down some key lessons.
All right, first step, and this is a big one. Read all the rules. I mean, scour the fine print, especially anything about distribution rights. Step 2. If anything is even a little bit fuzzy about long-term hosting, ask for clarification and get that answer in writing before you submit anything. Third, you've got to understand your copyrights. Know what you keep and what you're giving away. And finally, number 4, know the community's norms. Do a little research on their unwritten expectations, because as we just saw, sometimes those can matter just as much, if not more, than what's in the official rulebook.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question to chew on. For creators, what is the true price of community? I mean, communities are amazing, right? They offer support, exposure, collaboration, the whole shebang. But this story really forces us to ask, what happens when the price of belonging clashes with your fundamental right to own what you create? It's a tough dilemma, and it's one that pretty much every creator might have to face at some point.